You'll always be the one for me. That's life, baby. Look my way one day. That's life.
And Joe the Shirt is once again off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. As promised, I did deliver yet a third show this week on this day, Hump Day, Wednesday. Of course, today is not a Hump Day show because I do not have a guest. So it's not an official Hump Day show. It's just a show on Hump Day. Sorry. So I hope everybody's doing all right out there. A lot of things going on. One of the biggest stories around right now is, of course, the tornado that hit Moore, Oklahoma. Big tornado. We're talking it makes that shit on the Wizard of Oz look like shit. I mean, it's just that was a gentle breeze compared to what was going on in Moore, Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know if you saw the footage on the news or online, but this massive tornado, and we're talking, when I say massive, I mean you have to take into perspective. The thing was 1.3 miles wide. Okay? So basically, if it's coming at you, you're not getting away. All right? You're not going to outrun it. You're not going to go around it. This thing is going to kick your ass. That's how big this thing was. The tornado was on the ground for a good 50 minutes and cut a swath 17 miles long. Now, I've saw some footage of what this tornado did. And there was a picture, this big picture, humongous picture of 5 blocks. In a neighborhood, and all 5 blocks, every house was destroyed. Okay, and then they just kept going right behind it. I mean, it was just that massive. We're talking about 237 people hurt, 2,800 homes either destroyed or damaged. A little good news going on. Originally, they were thinking that there was about 51 dead, including 20 children. As of the most recent reports, there's 24 dead with about 9 children. So still not great news, but still better news than what people were originally thinking, by about a good, better than half. So it was just one of those really big, just massive. I mean, this thing really was, that movie Twister, like I said, The Wizard of Oz, all bullshit compared to the real thing. The real deal will scare the living shit right into you, all right? My condolences. My heart goes out to everybody in Moore, Oklahoma. Anybody that's ever had to go through a tornado, which is such a destructive force. I've seen so much footage on these things, and, where a piece of wood just goes straight through cinder blocks, straight through brick, even sometimes straight through metal, steel. It'll just crash right through it like paper mache. So, it is a big deal. That being said, I still don't think that was any reason to cancel, this week's episode of Mike and Molly. And the reason I say this is because Mike and Molly, the episode that was supposed to air on Monday, which is a show that me and my girlfriend watch together, had something to do with a tornado. So in an outpouring of sympathy, empathy, whatever you want to call it, PCness, they decided to hold on to that episode for another week or two, and we might be seeing it next week or the week after that. I say they should have just shown it. One thing's got nothing to do with the other. I don't see how showing this episode is any less sensitive. I mean, they made the show, they ran it. I mean, let's face facts: hurricanes, tornadoes, avalanches, earthquakes happen all the time. I'm not meaning to diminish what happened to the folks over in Moore, Oklahoma. It's a terrible, terrible thing. People losing their homes, their cars, their family members, or even their own lives. It's a big deal. But that doesn't change my TV viewing in the slightest. Okay, just like it didn't change the TV viewing of just about anybody else in this country. We like to tell ourselves about how much we care about our fellow human being, but the truth of the matter is, we really don't. let's face facts. I think about Oklahoma, and the only person I know in Oklahoma is Kevin Durant. Okay, and I've never met Kevin Durant. I only know him because I like to watch basketball. So that's really it. But like I always say, am I sad over the loss of human life? Absolutely. Do I care about any particular individual? Absolutely not. Don't give a shit. I've never met anybody in Oklahoma. I don't know anybody that lives in Oklahoma. It doesn't affect me that way. But then again, but that's a personal thing. If you feel more one way than the other, that's fine with you. Like, for instance, I didn't know anybody in Newtown, Connecticut either. But if any of you that listened to the show I did about Newtown, Connecticut, when we had that really awful, terrible shooting, this one asshole that was, targeting children more than anything else, that busted me up inside. That I lost my shit on the air, if you might recall. I was openly crying when it came to that one, because that was a very personal thing, because I have nieces and nephews, and I have little sisters, and I have my friends' kids, and the idea of somebody hurting them the way this asshole did in Newtown, that hit very close to home, but in a very personal way, because I'm a big fan of the kids. I'm big into protecting the kids, But then again, that being said, I don't think the people over in Newtown should have been so pissed off when Glee did an episode about a school shooting. These are current events, and TV is a reflection of current events. People, we've got to stop being so sensitive about things that affect a portion of the community. You know what? Something is always going to affect a portion of the community. It's going to happen. That doesn't mean we stop watching TV. That doesn't mean we stop going to the movies. All right. What's next? From now on, let's not make any movies or TV shows about war, because it might offend veterans with PTSD. Let's not do shows about serial killers, of which, by the way, there are 3 currently on network TV. Because there are so many people that have been victims of serial killers. Ridiculous. There are stories out there that we want to tell, and I don't think that they are in any way insulting or degrading or diminishing to people that have actually suffered from these particular tragedies. In no way whatsoever. I think that in any way, it calls attention to it. Yes, sure, Mike and Molly is a comedy show. And of course, they would have done the tornado episode in a funny way, But you have, like I've always said, you have to be able to laugh at the tragedies in life, not just your life, everybody's life. You can't take anything too seriously all the time, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's something funny about everything, all right? There's something funny in terrorism. There's something funny in racism. There's something funny in rape and murder and war. And there's a reason it's called gallows humor, because we need something to blow off that steam, to take the pressure off. Otherwise, we're all going to have high blood pressure. We're going to have hypertension, die of a stroke or a heart attack. And you got to be able to laugh, especially when things seem their darkest, when things seem their ugliest. That's when you need to laugh the most. The more you cry, the more you lose. Not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with a good cry. Lord knows I've had a good cry or two in my life, and it's very, very cathartic. It's quite the release. It feels good. But you cry for a little while so you can laugh a lot. That's the way I see it. That's where I'm going with it. Again, my sympathies and condolences to everybody over in there, Moore, Oklahoma. Not much for me to say about that. It's, and while I know that we all feel for the folks in Moore, Oklahoma. To quote one of my favorite Christmas songs, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. And I know that sounds selfish, because it is. Now, speaking on things that are going on which are absolutely fascinating in life, you've probably heard about Angelina Jolie's double mastectomy. If for those of you who are not familiar with what a mastectomy is, and if you happen to be a woman and don't know what a mastectomy is, you need to see a doctor soon. But a mastectomy involves partial or full removal of breast. Typically, this is done in response to, say, breast cancer. They find a tumor, they find something in there that's not supposed to be in there, that's growing, getting bigger, and has the potential to infect the entire body and kill the woman. Now, I say the woman because, typically speaking, it is women who have breasts that get breast cancer. But guys, there is a small percentage of men that do, in fact, get breast cancer. All right? So, if one day you happen to be, playing with yourself and you like to stroke your cock and, rub yourself and you're touching your chest and you find something odd and lumpy, go to the doctor. Okay? Don't just assume it's a bruise. Just go to the doctor because there is a percentage of us that can and will get breast cancer. I mean, yes, typically speaking, you're most likely going to get prostate cancer, testicular cancer. If you're a smoker, you might get emphysema or lung cancer. If you like to go to the beach a lot, skin cancer, melanoma, all that stuff. That's typically what's going to happen to you, all right? But it's possible for you to get breast cancer. And like I said, no shame in getting it treated, getting it fixed, finding out as much as you can. Now, for women, typically speaking, a mastectomy is a very, very, very big deal because it is essentially removing the most obvious physical manifestation of what it is to be a woman. I mean, let's face facts. More often than not, you see a woman, you are never, ever going to see her pussy. It's never going to happen. There are over 3 billion women on the planet. You are never, ever, ever, ever going to see their pussy. But when you walk down the street, you see women, you see tits. You go to the beach, you see tits. You go to a nude beach, tits. You go to the pool, tits. It's summer, tits. Tits are probably among the most defining qualities of womanhood. So for a woman, it is an incredibly big deal, and I don't even pretend to understand what it is to go through that. All right? Because, like say I have testicular cancer, they have to remove my balls. Until I pull down my pants, you have no idea that I don't have my balls. When it comes to a woman, you can pretty much tell. Especially if, she was of a bountiful nature before the mastectomy. If she had a great big set of tits beforehand and all of a sudden she's less than an A cup, you're going to notice, and she's going to know that you notice, and it's going to be pretty brutal. I've met women that have had this done. I knew a woman, she was the wife of a friend of mine, lived in a building I lived in a long time ago, and he had me and the ex-wife over for Thanksgiving, and we went there, and I knew that she had breast cancer, and I knew that she had gotten operated on, and, she was there, and we were hanging out, talking to me, everything's fine. And at one point, she decided to address the elephant in the living room and talk about her breast cancer, talk about her mastectomy. And she opens up her shirt and shows me and my wife the big, flat, empty space where her tit used to be. The other one was still there. But where the tit used to be, that empty space was there, not even a nipple left. And I probably had nightmares for a week because that was just one of the most bizarre, scary things I'd ever seen. Especially because the other one was right there next to it, So it was really rather odd. But you know what? She had balls. She decided to address the issue right there and then. She let us know this is what happened to her. Fucking deal with it. And she showed me where her tit used to be. And mad props to her. She did what she needed to do to save her life. And Angelina Jolie did something very similar, which I will continue to talk about when I come back. By the way, today's music is brought by the band Cry Out. You heard their first song, Desire. And here's their next song, No Man. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back. We are back once again with Show the Shirts Off the Cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Good to have you back here again. We have been talking a lot of it actually, about breast cancer, most specifically Angelina Jolie and her double mastectomy. Now, what is interesting here is that Angelina Jolie does not have breast cancer. She never did. This was a preemptive strike. She decided that she was going to remove her breast because she has a gene. The BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. Apparently everybody has this gene, but only some of us have a mutation which turns this particular gene cancerous in the breast. Now, this is coming from a family history of cancer in Jolie's family. Her mother's breast cancer and ovarian cancer, and her grandmother's ovarian cancer, to the point where Angelina Jolie is also considering removing her ovaries. So by the time she's done, all the girly parts are going to be gone by the time she's done. And so she did this as a preventative measure, which is pretty radical. And speaking as a man, a sad thing, because she had some really great tits. You don't believe me? Look for the movie Gia. That's probably some of the best nudity of Angelina Jolie you're going to find. Look for the movie Gia. I mean, that's some great fucking tits right there, you know. So as a man, I'm like, wow, that's just sad. She's 37 years old and, you know, lopped off her tits. According to recent statistics here, breast cancer alone kills about 458,000 people a year, which puts that whole DUI death of 9,800 I talked about yesterday seriously into perspective. Okay, it's a big deal. You know, it really is one of the biggest deals around, and it's difficult and it's scary. You know, I've had my scares with this as well. About 8 years ago, my girlfriend, we discovered some lumps in her tits. We did. We got them checked out. Turns out that they were dormant. There was nothing wrong going on, nothing malignant going on. It wasn't cancerous. They did the test. They checked it out. And nothing to worry about so far. She gets tested every year, you know. But it was scary when it first happened, you know. When she discovered it on her own, and she had me feel her up and touch her. And, you know, for the first time in my life, I was touching tits and not having a good time because I was feeling these lumps in her tits. And it was a very, very scary thing because, you know, it's almost as if once you feel something, it makes it that much realer, and it just seems to bring on the disease even faster than you ever imagined possible. I also have an ex-girlfriend who's a very, very good friend of mine. I love her to tears. She does have breast cancer, you know, and they went in and they operated and they took out some mass from her tits, and now according to her, she's got a dent in her tit. She likes to call it lumpy lefty now. She takes on a very good attitude about it. And again, very, very scary. You know, it's something that took her a long time to tell me about. It's something that she'd been living with, something that she had diagnosed and checked out and then operated on. And it took a lot for her to tell me about it because it's a big deal. Like I said, it is a very, very big deal. And finding people that are supportive in the right way is a very, very difficult thing to find. One of the things that pisses her off the most is people that try to be supportive but really don't know how. You know, they treat her with kid gloves, or whenever they talk to her, all they can talk to her is about the breast cancer. It's about the doctor visits. And by the way, she hates Breast Cancer Awareness Month with a fucking passion. All right? She gets sick and tired of hearing about it. So it's weird. It will affect everybody in a very, very different way. You know, again, my heart goes out to Angelina Jolie. It's a tough time for her. her being the mother of 6 children. I think like 3 adopted, 3 her actual children. I'm not entirely sure. And her and Brad Pitt. And that's, a lot of people in this situation will often concentrate, of course, naturally on the woman, on the breast cancer, victim, survivor, person that got the operation, whatever you want to call them. And that's very natural. Of course, you're going to focus on the person with the cancer, the potential cancer, or the one that just had the double mastectomy. Of course, you're going to concentrate on them. But I think a lot of times family members get pushed aside. They get forgotten in the shuffle, because one of the things that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that it's not just the person with cancer that's dealing with it. Everybody around her, everybody that's close to her, has to deal with it as well. And an incredibly difficult thing to do, because you want to be supportive, you want to be there for them. But as my ex-wife taught me a long time ago, you also, along with taking care of the person who's sick, you have to be able to take care of yourself. And that a lot of times feels like it comes from an overly selfish place. The average person will tell you, it's like, well, you can't go around thinking about yourself. You have to think about the person who has cancer and their struggle and their fight. And you know what? That's true, but it's also bullshit, because you have to be able to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you're no good to anybody else. You can't take care of them if you're not taken care of in some way or another. And people think that selfish is a 4-letter word. You have to be selfish some days. You have to think of yourself first so that you can take care of somebody else. It's just like when you're on an airplane. You remember those instructions they give you on the airplane? If you're traveling with a child, make sure to put your mask on first, then the child's. Why? Because in the middle of putting the child's mask on, all of a sudden you pass out from lack of oxygen. Boom, you're dead. The kid's not going to be able to help you. So you have to make sure to take care of yourself first and then be able to help others. I know it's a tough sell. Not easy to do. But it's something that you have to do to really take care of both of you. What's going on over here? Well, the U.S. is pissing off Russia. And because they've pissed off Russia, Russia has put a ban on all adoptions of Russian children to America, which really sucks for about a good 300 families and 300 kids that were in the process of adoption from Russia to the U.S. All of a sudden, they were about to adopt a kid. The kid was about to have a home. Russia says, fuck you, we don't like the way you talk to us about our politics, and we're not going to let you adopt our kids anymore. Currently, Russia has roughly 300,000 orphans languishing in about 3,000 facilities all across Russia. Kids that got nowhere to go, nothing to do. Nobody wants them. They've been abandoned. And here we are. We were looking to adopt them, but because Russia's pissy with us, because they don't like the way we talk politics about them, they decided to punish their own children rather than let us have them. Okay, well, you know what, Russia, fuck you and your big-headed kids. Don't care. Now, this is something that's always really fun for me. Let's see, where did I put that one? I want to make sure I get the right one. Okay. There's another bill on transgender rights. In case you don't remember what a transgender is, a transgender is a person of one sex that decides to live their life as a person of the opposite sex. So simply put, if you're a man, you decide that you want to live as a woman. Your name is Carl. You want to be known as Carlita from now on. And thus you begin to dress like a woman, act like a woman, live your life as a woman. Opposite goes the other way. If your name happens to be Josephine, from now on you want to be called Joe. You're going to start wearing jeans and flannel, and good chance you'll get a mullet. and live your life as a man and be addressed as a man, known as a man, talked about as a man, preferably. But we all know that's not really going to happen. So what's going on here? Well, apparently, according to a bill that they're trying to pass in California, schools would have to allow transgender students to participate on sports teams and use bathrooms that correspond with their gender identity, not their sex, under a measure passed in the California Assembly just a couple weeks ago, actually, on a Thursday. According to a quote here, it's about ensuring transgender students, just like all students, have a fair chance to be themselves and succeed at school, said Melissa Goodman, a senior staff attorney at the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California. I oppose this. I'm saying that right now, and it's not because I have anything against transgender people at all. If you're a man and you want to be known as Linda, good for you. If you're a woman, you want to be known as Buck, great for you. But going back to what I was talking about the other day about protecting the children, we're talking about schools here. And I think it's unfair for, say, a bunch of girls to have to accept a male student in their bathrooms, in their locker rooms, on their sports teams. I think that's unfair. I think it's completely unfair. I think that, okay, yes, you identify yourself as female, but you still have a cock. All right? You have a cock and balls. You're still a man. I'll keep calling you Belinda if you want me to, but I'm not going to let you into the girls' locker room or the girls' showers or the girls' bathrooms or join the cheerleading squad while wearing a skirt. No, you can't do it. I'm not going to let you. And this is not because I have anything against transgenders. I think that it's unfair to the other students. Just like I think it's unfair for Melissa to want to go to the boys' bathroom, to want to, go to the boys' gym, to want to play football, boys' football. Yeah, I think it's wrong. I think that there's a definitive reason that there's a separation of the sexes on campuses, in high schools, junior high schools, grade schools, colleges. There's a reason for it, okay? It's because they are, in fact, different. Yes, they're equal, but you know what? This is one of those cases where they need to be separate but equal. Equal but separate. And I'm going to stick to that, and I'm going to talk about it more when I get back from this break. Here's more of Cry Out, their song Jesus the Bandit. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
A poem by Michael Poe was the genesis of this song, and the title is Jesus the Bandit. The road is familiar as it drops down from Jerusalem like a scar for a journey. You have left family and faith behind in the city in favor of the dust wrapping your face like gauze. The landscape has settled over you as the lover of your choice. Unbuttoned a smile, and you agreed Christ, and you agreed Jesus the Bandit. It was a hasty decision, impulsive, your friends told you. You ignored all the don't burn your bridges advice.
You made him no mind.
The landscape has settled over you as the lover of your choice. Unbuttoned a smile, and you agreed Christ, and you agreed Jesus the Bandit.
Jesus el bendito. The landscape has settled over you as the lover of your choice. Unbuttoning a smile, and you agree, Christ, and you agree.
And Joe, sure it is. Once again, off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Talking about transgenders again. As much as we'd like to believe that we live in an equal world, a fair world, a world where men and women are equal on all fronts, it's not true. It's the lie that the politically correct keep trying to force feed us. I'm not saying that one sex is better than the other. I'm saying that they're equal, but they are different. I've talked about before how women reporters, sports reporters, made the biggest fucking deal out of the fact that, they weren't allowed into men's locker rooms, be it baseball, soccer, basketball, football, whatever. They weren't allowed into hockey. They weren't allowed into the men's locker room like their male counterparts were to get certain interviews right after the game and pictures that were very specific, to that particular time after the game. So they made a big stink about it, and now, female reporters are allowed in locker rooms. But male reporters, the last time I checked, are still not allowed into the locker room of any WNBA games, professional volleyball players' locker rooms, female sports of any kind. Men are not allowed in those locker rooms. Why? Because it makes women uncomfortable. And women do get a lot more leeway in this country when it comes to that sort of thing, when it comes to, protecting their virtue or just protecting women in general. I mean, I've talked about many times about how, women have defended other women who have had sex with underage boys, boys that are under 18 years old. We're talking about boys as young as 12 years old. And they always defend it the same way. They always go, well, what guy wouldn't like a hot, older woman showing him the ropes? And that's the defense they have. And they always address it as if it's so beautiful, as if it's such a romance, it's a relationship. But you talk about, a 17-year-old girl, wanting to date a 26-year-old guy. Well, that's fucking rape. That's wrong. And I'm sick of it. I really am. But going back to the whole transgender thing, no, I'm not comfortable with it. I know that there is a big push in this country. Some of you probably know about it, where schools are trying to eliminate gender from the classroom. You can all have your name. You can be Tom, you can be Brad, you can be Kimberly, you can be Jessica. But you don't necessarily have to be a girl to be named Jessica. You don't necessarily have to be a boy to be named Brad. And that's fine if you want to. And by the way, Brad, you can wear a skirt if you feel like. And Jessica, you want to wear jeans, that flannel, and get that mullet, you go right on ahead. You're more than welcome to. That's fine, And I think that this is a mistake because sooner or later, boys and girls are going to notice that there really are distinct differences between them. I remember playing doctor with some of the girls in my neighborhood when I was a kid. I remember playing doctor with a couple of my more distant cousins, and we would, take a peek. Let's see what's going on down there. What's going on? It's like, hey, you're missing something. Hey, what's that dangling participle? And hey, why do you have those soft little fleshy things on your chest? What the hell's going on here? And this is something we were discovering things about ourselves long before we were even aware of what sex really was. But we were noticing the differences, okay? I mean, I remember being a kid, I used to take a bath with my younger sister all the time. Not once did we take a stare down at each other's parts because we were that young. I was aware that there was something different about her, but I didn't care. I'm sure she was aware there's something different about me. She didn't care. But then we got older, and then one day, my mother tells us we can't take baths anymore together. And at the time, we had no idea why. About a year or so after that, well, I figured it out, But, and that's what all kids are going to figure out, especially when you're talking about kids that are in high school, kids that are in junior high school, college. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. You know what? If you happen to be named Brad, but you want to be named Angelina from now on, and you want to wear a pretty dress and a nice halter top, and you want to put in fake boobs, fine, go ahead. But you know what, Angelina? You're still gonna take a piss standing up at the urinal in the boys' room. Okay? No, you're not gonna pop a squat in the girls' room. And I don't care if you're I don't care if you're straight and you're interested in boys, and that gets confusing right there because then you have a boy who decides he wants to live his life as a girl. Now, is this new girl Angelina? Is she straight? Is she homosexual? Is she straight and want to be with boys, which would actually make her homosexual, or is she lesbian and want to be with girls, which would actually make her straight? Very confusing, and I think that's that particular student's problem to deal with. You shouldn't have to force your problems on everybody else, especially when it is a very, very specific problem to you, okay? And don't try to compare this to, say, being black or being Jewish, okay? This is not about religion. This is not about skin color. This is about something that is basic and true to all of us. If you're born with a dick, you're a boy. You're born with a pussy, you're a girl. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I don't care if you do get the fucking operation. I don't care. Get your dick and balls cut off. Rebuild it into a pussy. Get the breast implants. Get the hormones in. You know what? You get murdered. They CSI your ass. Boom. Genetically speaking, you're a man. Fuck you. Same thing goes for women, all right? Get that pussy reconstructed into a cock somehow. Remove your tits. Start taking the hormones. Build up some muscle. Get some balls attached. Go ahead. Go nuts. You know what? You still can't play football worth a fucking damn. At least that's my opinion on it, I don't know. It ticks me off. Right? It's one of those things that really does tick me off, because it's one of those things that I think, honestly, should be very simple and basic and clear cut to everybody. And for those of you out there who are in this situation where you are a transgender and you want to live your life as a man, even though you're a woman, or you're a woman and you want to live your life as a man, great. Do it after public school. All right? When you're done with public school, when you're done with all that, fine, wear all the suits or dresses that you want, live your life as however way you want, without imposing yourself on other people's lives. You have to find a way, because I refuse. If I were a parent, I would not be comfortable with letting a man into my little girl's bathroom at her school. Just as I would be uncomfortable with letting a young girl into the boys' bathroom at his school. That is too dangerous a situation right there. Anyway, enough heaviness for now. We're almost out of time. Time sure does fly by when you're having fun, doesn't it? Anyway, to today's topic, Manscaping, the wild unknown. The reason I put that up there is because I have been manscaping since I was 27 years old. Okay? And by manscaping, yes, I'm talking I take the clippers and sometimes a razor to the old pork and beans down there. And I typically don't shave it bald. I typically will I'll use the clippers on the lowest setting on the on the pubic hair, but then on the balls I'll take the razor too and make them really smooth and silky and pleasant to the touch. And the reason I started doing this is because I got sick and tired after a while of listening to women that were blowing me going, excuse me, I got tired of that sound after a while. So I started manscaping, keeping it neat and trim. And actually, I got to tell you, makes it look a lot bigger. So, that's always kind of fun. And it added a little sensitivity to it. And by the way, it does help, to keep any particular odors down, because hair does hold on to odor quite a bit. And like I said, it was just very pleasant all around, and I didn't have to listen to that anymore. And that was a lot of fun. But as of 3 weeks ago, I've stopped manscaping, and I will continue to not manscape for a while. I want to see what the old pubes look like these days. I've got quite a bit of growth already, and I'm just going to let it go wild for a little bit. I'll get back to it. Don't worry about that. My M is already getting bitchy and pissy at me, 'cause she's not loving it. She's not loving the lack of manscaping, all the fur down there. I'm starting to look like some 70s porno actor, so she's not loving it. But I'm going to continue to let it go for a while longer. Maybe till July. I'm thinking that should be enough time to let it fully grow out. I'm hoping. I don't know. I haven't done this in so long. I never had to regrow. I've never tried to regrow the thing ever before. Up until I was 27, I just had the hair. Then I turned 27. I started the manscaping, and I've been doing it now good 15 years. And I'm going to let it grow. Good thing for me so far, no gray hairs yet. I haven't seen a single one yet. And this is after 3 weeks worth of growth, and I haven't seen a single gray yet. So that's good. That's nice, which is pretty amazing to me because I have gray in my beard, I have gray in my hair, my head, and I have gray chest hair, which is kind of gnarly. It's kind of sad. I'm starting to look like a reverse silverback gorilla. But so far the pubes, dark as ever, looking kind of fluffy, so I'm enjoying that. I thought it was time to bring it back. And of course, I am a hairy guy to begin with, all over, except for my head, of course, where I'm bald. But my arms, my chest, my back, my butt, my legs, I'm a fucking hedgehog, okay? In that one respect, I'm like Ron Jeremy. I'm hairy like Ron Jeremy. And I'm starting to look like I'm built like Ron Jeremy, all except for one particular area where I'm definitely not like Ron Jeremy. Apparently, not having a 9 3/4 inch cock is quite noticeable when you don't have one. But anyway, I thought I'd give it the experiment. Who knows? Maybe I'll take a picture of it and post it for you guys. You can check that out on my Facebook page, Joe the Shirts Off the Cuff. Maybe I'll do it. We'll see. In any case, that is my time for today. Thank you for listening. I had a lot of fun, as always, and always never enough time. Maybe I'll extend the show. Maybe I'll start doing multiple shows a day. Who knows? In any case, here's Cry Out with their song, So Ja Say. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm Off the Cuff, and I'll talk to you later. Later.